Alright, this is my LoLtarch on a jet bike, and I finished up the green stuff work, so I want to go over what I've done, and some of the parts that I've used. And then I'll talk a little bit about things that I would do differently, and things that I think worked and things that I think didn't. So last night, the green stuff work that I did this lapel. Earlier there was a fold there, but I sort of accentuated this little cut in the cloth, and I smoothed it out and I bulked it out a little bit so you can so that it stands out. I added this clasp to his coat, and I added this pouch to his coat, and it closes with a clasp and a little flap. And I gave it some cloth-like folds in it to sort of give it some texture. And I cleaned up the feet, but there's nothing to show there. You can't see what I did. The parts that I used, I've got the Shining Spears laser lance. I've got the fire pike from the Fire Dragons kit, and actually that came with an arm on it, and I had to saw that off and then grind down the extraneous metal with a Dremel tool, and then I added the magnet and green stuff to smooth it out. Some kind of high elf head. I honestly don't know where it came from. My friend gave it to me. I've got the Guardian grenade pack, the Dire Avenger's legs, Dire Avenger's shimmer shield arm, Dire Avenger chest, and the Dire Avenger chest had a backpack here that I had to saw off and then grind down so that I could fit the coat on it with the green stuff. The bike, like I said in the last video, is the Eldar jet bike, elongated by moving. Oops, my tool stuck to the magnet. by elongating. By removing the engines and fixing them to the back with a pin and then green stuff to gap fill. And then that leaves this this hole up here open, and you have to gap fill that too. And here are the shoulder veins for the Wraith Lord to give it some cooler looking wings. The green stuff work that I did for the cloak involved stretching out green stuff until it's basically paper thin. I do it in front of a light so that I can see when it's translucent, and then at that point, when the light shines through it, basically uniformly, then I sort of poke it onto the end of this tool, and then I dab it on, and then it takes some really careful work, but with some patience and some care, you can get it fixed on there, and then basically. The places where it's thin or where it's going to fold, and if you're careful with it, then you can get some really natural cloth-like folds without having to actually sculpt anything. You end up with a lot of fingerprints, and so to fix those, I used liquid green stuff and then also some, small dabs of green stuff that I smoothed out with the tool. But honestly, some of it still remains, and if this were a showpiece, then I'd be trying harder to get rid of those, but yeah, this is made for tabletop gaming, and I really don't want to put a lot more time into it. There are other methods I think you could do to get this cloth, including like actual cut cloth soaked in some like Elmer's glue or something like that. But this just happens to be the method that I was trying at the time, and it was kind of working, so I just stuck with it. Stuff that doesn't really work so well. Pewter. Magnetizing pewter is hard. I magnetized a pewter librarian from the Space Marines librarian with that pewter staff is so heavy with that thick Terminator arm, and I kind of got it using just bigger magnets than I otherwise would. And it sticks on there, and it's fine. But just magnetizing pewter in general is a pain in the butt. I don't like fine cast, but I think this piece is in fine cast now. And I think if I were to do this again, I'd just put the work into cleaning up some fine cast, and I'd use that instead, because the weight distribution really was a problem. It would have saved me a lot of work in redoing these feet. Now the feet are very stable. So he's not going to be going anywhere, even though the bike does wobble a little bit on the stand. Not due to a deficiency in the strength of the magnets, but really it's just because the green stuff work that I did, stuck to it again. The green stuff work that I did is a little round on the edges, and so it wobbles. And if I didn't need to prime today to keep myself on schedule, then that's something I would fix. And then the other thing that I would do differently if I were to do this again, if I were to do this again, I would be doing it for like something more like a showpiece instead of tabletop, and so I wouldn't have to worry too much about stability and stuff like that. I'd be going more for just for a good look, so I can take some good pictures. And I would use a different stance. The leg that I wound up with, I chose because, I thought I could get a really good look without doing too much work for it. And I think that was true, but really what I was trying to express was Eldar agility. And something like the Harlequin's Troop Master, his pose I think would have been perfect for this. If you remember, he's like jumping off the ground, and I think he's attached to the ground, to his base, with a streaming piece of cloth that he's wearing. And that I think would have really captured what I was going for. Whereas this, it sort of gets it, and I think it's kind of cool and kind of funny too. But I think the action of it could have been a little bit better. But since I don't need more than one of these for a tabletop, you can only use one mantle of the Laughing God in the first place. If I were to ever do this again, it would just be for just for fun. And I just put a lot of work into sculpting and cleaning it up and making it look really action packed. And that's essentially it. Today and this weekend I'll be priming and then painting. I haven't got the paint scheme completely figured out yet, but like the rest of my army, it'll be a mix of black, purple, pink, and wraithbone. And at the same time, I'll be doing my Shining Spears, but some other time I'll talk about Shining Spears separately. Thank you very much for watching. See ya.